Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and here's what's going on today. We have to cast 20 white or blue spells. I know, if you follow this channel, I know what you're thinking. No, don't play that control deck again. Don't play the Teferi, that takes forever to win. Please, no, dear God, this will take forever. We've already seen it. Well, or perhaps you're like, please play that absolute nightmare of a monstrous deck again. It's so fun to watch. I don't know. Everybody's got their own thing. But you're in luck if your reaction was the first one, as we're going to try something different. I do, as you see, have a number of blue-white decks. I do think it is a strong color combination in the game, and would be easy for me to play the version of blue-white control that runs Approach, or the version that runs Drakehaven. But in the sake of shaking it up and giving the blue-white deck some time to cool off, at least the control version, we're going to run the blue-white Embalm deck today. Basically, Embalm and Eternalize are kind of the key bits to it, as bringing creatures back from the graveyard after you dump them there. But the main thing is it's a token deck. It's an Anointed Procession deck that makes big piles of tokens and monsters and can gain a bunch of life and just kind of has this crazy engine. So the deck is mainly the good reasons to play this deck. Number one, if the red deck doesn't kill you very, very quickly, you have good long game against the red deck. Number two, if you play against blue-black, you have very good long game against blue-black. And number three, tokens are pretty fun. And number four, it's not that expensive to build. Obviously, ignore the fancy lands I have in my mana base, and you'll see that a lot of the rares and uncommons from this come from the main core set that everybody receives when they join the game. You have to craft a few Anointed Processions, and you have to craft some Champion of Wits. Champion of Wits is absolutely important to the deck, and you do want as many as you can get your hands on. Most of the rest is pretty optional. A few Sunscourge Champions and Anointer Priests, not too bad of a craft there. Your starter set comes with Vizier of many faces. A few cast outs can actually be replaced with other cards like Desert's Hold or some other removal spells, although cast out's always the best. So this is a deck that you can get into pretty early that is actually competitive-ish with the red decks. Don't get your hopes up that you'll win every game against red. If you're on the draw and they have a good draw, you're going to struggle, and you probably won't be able to get set up if you open with Sacred Cat, Adorned Pouncer, Champion of Wits, and they play Goblin Chain Whirler. That's very sad. But where you want to be with this deck is just kind of hold them up for a few turns, play Anointed Procession, and then bring back Sunscourge Champions and Adorned Pouncers, or drop Regal Caracals, and just make a board position that's really hard for them to overcome. All right. Going to go ahead and launch into the deck. This deck can be built a number of different ways, actually. I did say I was going to talk more about the cards we could be using in future videos. There's a number of ways that you can build this deck. I by no means claim to have the bestest version here. I tried to make one that was combination budget friendly and interesting, and there's a lot of cards I still couldn't fit in. Some people might run a Legion's Landing. I don't think it's necessary, but I know that it does fit the token theme and might help you get a little ramp out there. Baffling End is a good card for rampaging Ferocidon and other red things, that it's just so bad against blue-white control right now I don't run it, but I wouldn't blame you if you ran it. It's okay. Let's see, other cards that you really just want just about anything with Embalm or with Eternalize. That's the core of the deck, is cards that do this and come back and pressure the opponent more. So when looking into what to add to that, Labyrinth Guardian out of blue is not a terrible call. I don't really think History of Benalia belongs. It has some synergy with the Anointer Priest and with the Anointed Procession, but it is difficult to cast and doesn't fit with the graveyard theme, and I think you just need your Champion of Wits in that spot so much more, and even Sunscourge Champion I think is a lot better help in the matchups where you want it. So not running the History of Benalia. Really, we don't have that many Dominaria cards at all. Do we have any Dominaria cards? I don't think so. This is very much an Amonkhet focused deck. almost an Amonkhet tribal deck, to be honest, or Amonkhet block. As you see, there's only some Ixalan's Bindings and some Charticourse, which could just as easily be more strategic planning. And the rest of it is all Amonkhet. So if you want to focus your packs on a set to try to maximize what it does, perhaps Amonkhet's the right call. Oketra the True, I mean, if you really like that card, I don't like that card at all, so it's not the right card for me. But I could see how you could say it belongs in here. More Angels of Sanctions you can make a case for that. Same thing with Crested Sunmare. I don't like the Sunmare as much. I think that the deck has a pretty expensive high curve and a good top end as it is. But some people like the Sunmare in addition to the Angels and the Caracals. Some people might just want to run 4 Caracals. And of course there's Lyra, which doesn't synergize with the deck, but is super 5-drop powerful. So no shortage of options and no shortage of ways to build it. I like to stick as close to the Eternalize Embalm theme as I can stick. I also don't want to run like 4 Charticourse and 4 strategic planning as some of you combo-y card draw-y types might. You just can't give up that many turns if the red deck is here beating you down, and you really don't have too much trouble finding value over the course of the game, thanks to all of the comeback mechanics out of the graveyard. Labyrinth Guardian is probably what I would play if I needed more 2-drops, if I didn't have the Anointer Priest or the Pouncer, something that just get in the way, that doesn't die to Goblin Chain Whirler. Sounds magnificent right now. Some people run Search. I'm not a big Search for Azcanta player for this. I found too often I put it out there and it didn't do much, whereas strategic planning getting you that value up front, I find that to be much better. See, some other cards like Blink of an Eye aren't terrible. You see, we don't have removal until turn 4. Some people would say that's very bad, and they'd be right. In some cases, that will be the death of you. It is important that we keep hands that have early plays so that we actually get to start recovering on turn 4 and as quickly as possible. But for the most part, I think that the deck has the cards that it needs. I don't think that many of these add much more to it. I like having the commit to memory in the deck as a sort of gotcha. Sometimes the games come down to a standoff where if the opponent has settle, you're in big trouble, and if you can one time commit the settle, you get the lethal. That's against blue-white, of course, or whatever decks want to run Settle the Wreckage these days. It seems to be everywhere. Everywhere but mono-red. All right. There are a few gold cards. Obviously, Teferi is a super powerful bomb type thing, but like I said, this deck is all about building large board presences. Teferi doesn't really contribute to that. And he is sort of the anti this deck, the deck that does nothing except Teferi versus this deck, which is trying to do lots of things and overwhelm Teferi. A Naven Wind Guide is an interesting card that I've played in and out of the deck, but eventually I ended up cutting it. I just don't feel like I need the flying too often, and maybe it's just I've had bad experiences with the card. I totally think it's a fun card, and you're welcome to run it in your version if you want. I do not like Temid at all. I found Temid to be very tedious. The main thing that drives me nuts about Temid is when you embalm him, he's still legendary. Therefore, you have to sacrifice him, or at least one of him, if you have an Anointed Procession out. That's not what I'm trying to do. I want to make a whole bunch of critters. I want to overwhelm the board with dorks. All right. You're probably like, shut up now and play some games. I will oblige you, just because we're friends. Let's try out. There's a flash event up right now, and sign up ends in a couple seconds. Oh my, it's like a sign, isn't it? It's a sign, but actually I don't want the flash event. It's nice if you have packs. But sign up ends. Should we do it? Let's do it. For the video, flash event is 3 wins or 2 losses, whichever comes first. Let's get in there. See if we can win some packs. They're like a quick constructed event, but a lower commitment. What's quicker than quick? Flash, I guess. This is great. We have some early plays. If we draw a land, we have Champion of Wits, which is fantastic. This cast out, we're probably cycling to make sure we hit our land drop, since we have another 4 mana play if we want to catch up on the board. Oh, opponent, don't be in the tank already. It's only the first turn. Please, I'm trying to do the video gamesies for the YouTubes. The YouTubes wants to see the videos because the YouTubes needs entertainment. And this is what we give them. Not like this. Please. Please, make your play. Perhaps they had to go to the loo, the WC, the toilets, the bathroom, things of that nature. Perhaps FedEx came to the door. That happens to me this time of day sometimes. I need you to sign something for you to have this package. This package that contains what? Maybe some magic cards? I don't know. I don't know what it could be. Somebody ask this person, if any of you know, Minomo86, ask them what was in the package that they had to go sign for that kept them from making their first play. You have no timeouts, man. Oh, whoa. Hold up. We've got a Renegade over here. 64 card deck. 64 card deck in Flash event. What is this? What is this? You don't see those too often in the arena beta. Most people have stuck to 60 rather religiously. Well, not the greatest showcase of our deck's ability, but our opponent is going to lose their turn here. Ah! I warned him. We're just going to cycle this now so I don't have to try to time it to what my opponent does, because who knows if they'll ever do anything. So opponent punts away turn 1, and now their timer's on double time. Look at it go. It's going so much faster. It's going so much faster. Well, I hope that whatever great emergency came up with their house, it was like, hey, you are now on Big Brother or The Amazing Race. And they're jumping around the house like losing their mind. They got nothing but amazing news and just forgot all about playing Magic for a minute. I hope that's the case. This is my attempt at a positive outlook on this situation. Since our opponent's behind now, I think that we can try to pounce them as a plan. And now I'm starting to get concerned because our opponent showed up right at the last second to make this play. And I'm starting to fear I'm just being trolled for the fun. Just for their lulls. Just because they want to, I don't know, laugh at me on the YouTubes and see how much I can talk about nothing. I will assure you, Mino86, if that is indeed your birth year, that I can talk about nothing admirably and with complete and utter conviction. And now we'll send in the Pouncer and see what happens here. You gonna seal it away? No seal away. Now, this bug, I think I mentioned it on channel before, but it's important anytime you play a double strike creature. You can tell because none of these are highlighted that you are still in combat. So when you say end turn, you're not actually ending turn. It's a glitch. And what it does is it goes to first strike damage. See? And then it moves to here. So if this is lit up now and you hit end turn, it actually ends your turn. If it's not lit up and you hit end turn, you're just leaving combat. And that's important to know if you're going to make a play post-combat like this. And I've seen many mistakes be made by magicians trying to figure that out in the game. So, all right, we'll discard these two because they both come back from the graveyard. Next turn, we'll probably like Vizier of the Anointed, go put something else in our graveyard, and create a little draw engine for ourselves. And our opponent, well, they've pretty much tripled their pace of play. So, aren't we enjoying ourselves now? There is a Mavi Fane. I think what we want to do is keep attacking our opponent. If he wants to trade with any of these, that's not a big deal, as we can get things out of the yard and just keep the pressure on. Against vampires, there are some absolutely ridiculous board states can and may occur. So get excited. However, if we end the game too quickly, that probably won't occur. So that will be my goal. As much as fun as it can be to watch it, it's not always fun to play those insane board states. All right. So what is the right Embalm card? Against vampires, probably another Anointer Priest, as getting multiple priests going and gaining a whole bunch of life can kind of offset the bigger and bigger vampires that they get. Vizier is interesting, but there's usually not something that great to copy against a token deck like vampires. Actually, I think I'm just going to get a cat, as if the Vizier lives, the cat is a very cheap card draw spell, and just drawing more cards and getting more velocity is probably the best way to compete with the vampire deck. We also need a second white source as soon as possible, so getting deeper in the deck is a sort of mana fixing. And now it's our opponent's turn. And we'll see what they would like to do. If they can remove the Vizier and attack with the Mavrin, they do get a token. I'm not going to play too aggressively around that situation, as asking mono white to just remove the Vizier is not always easy for them. But if they go, say, land Ixalan's Binding on this, I'm pretty happy it's gone. Plus we get the ETB ability if we cast out or commit the Ixalan's Binding. So it's not a bad spot to be in against white. And Baffling End doesn't kill this. What you gonna do? We have a land that we can target with Field of Ruin to fix our mana now. And our opponent is on the white-black Vampies. The Bloodletter has arrived. Oh, that's an annoying card with Mavrin Fane. Hey, there's our second white anyway. It's tempting to continue our assault. And then it's kind of, what's the other play? And it looks like a pretty easy take would be to bring back Anointer Priest, bring back Sacred Cat, and have some blockers on the ground, draw 2 cards, continue progressing our game plan. Another option is to Sunscourge Champion. We'd probably discard this Champion of Wits. We get a 4/4, we'd draw a card, because it is Eternalize or Embalm. But before we do any of that, I think we attack and look for a double block, which we may want to blow up with a commit or a cast out. I'm not going to be overly afraid of the 1/1 token our opponent might generate. I'm just going to try to keep pressure on them. Which isn't right in every matchup, but I do believe it's right in this matchup. Okay, I'm happy to trade the Champion of Wits with your Skymarch Bloodletter. Like so many of my cards, it does come back from the graveyard. Alright, let's bring back our Anointer Priest. We draw a chart, of course. We gain a life, as it does count itself. Let's bring back our Sacred Cat. Draw a card. Gain a life. And the value begins to roll. Now for our vampire opponent to consider their options. Well, I think I'm going to do the rudest thing I've ever done on a YouTube video. I'm going to go get a beverage while this happens, and the reason being, I'm going to lose my voice. I can already feel it going. I felt fine when I woke up, but right now it's not feeling great, and I've got to get through this video, and you need commentary. So I'll be right back. I have returned to you, my YouTube sub-friends, and I am very sorry about that. I hope you survived without me. Now, here we go. Our opponent, Skyblade of the Legion, recovery on the Bloodletter, and here we are. So, this does take away some of our good attacks. Not too many, though. I guess you could double block the Priest. That'd be annoying. You can single block the Pouncer, but we can bring it back as a big Pouncer. But I don't know if any of that is necessary. I don't think he'll want to block the Pouncer because it can come back as a Pouncer, a big kitty. So let's see what our opponent does if we just send in the Pouncer. Okay, he is going to let Kitty go to the graveyard. So what do you guys think? Do we bring back the big Kitty? Or we can also play Champ of Wits and Chart a Course and keep going in the deck. But at this point, it's not like I need more spells. Card draw at some point loses its luster when you already have that which you need. So we're going to play this Farmland and bring out this Pouncer and go big Kitty. And draw a card. Who could forget the value and gain the life? Now we'll make our opponent solve the 4/4 double striker, which is not something that's easy to ignore. They have an Ixalan's Binding. That will do the job for now. They'll be very displeased probably to see another Pouncer next turn. And here is a Bishop Soldier, Skybladed Legion getting in, making some vampires. So our opponent's starting to gain a little bit of traction. But we have a lot of ammunition. The question is, do I let him keep making vampires with Mavern Fane? Is that something I'm actually worried about? He does have a Shefet Dunes. This is his first lifelinker. However, Mavern Fane being legendary means he could just have another. And what am I doing with my turn otherwise? I think I do want to now find an Anointed Procession and just super outvalue him. So I'm going to start with this Chart a Course. Okay, we'll discard this Kitten. Well, we'll discard this Pouncer. That's a pretty big game. We'll cast the Kitty, even though it doesn't draw a card. It's a good blocker, and we can attack with it a few times. And then we will play a... We'll try to keep the deserts a bit of a secret. We can play this. We might target the dunes. Anyway, the plan is to cast out the Mavern Fane. Since our opponent has another flyer in hand that we know about, the Bloodletter, they can likely keep creating tokens. So the plan is to cast this out right before combat. Suppose I could have played better to bluff the Settle the Wreckage, and that may influence our opponent's combat, but since we plan to do this before combat anyway, it doesn't matter. Our opponent would know at that point that there will not be a Settle of the Wreckage. Okay, so Paladin of Atonement's a good combination with these deserts as they can lose life to build this up. And here comes the Bloodletter again. Okay, we will go to the first step of combat, attackers, before playing our cast out, just as a good habit. It's not going to particularly matter in this case, but in cases where the opponent might be able to make other first main phase plays, it matters. Yep, and now our opponent's going to start building a giant Paladin of Atonement. Let's see, so this turn would probably be a good turn to blow up the Shefet Dunes, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. We could also blow up the Deadlands and take away the opponent's ability to keep growing this creature. So I'm going to start there. See if they remember to tap it in response. They do not. I'm not too worried about being attacked by flyers since I have life that I can certainly gain. Alright. So I'm going to send in the Sacred Cat. If the opponent blocks it, we get to Embalm it. They get 2 life, but I'm not very worried about that. This is bogged down into more of a battle of cards than a beatdown situation, and it's time to embrace that. So we take away his desert so that he cannot keep growing the Paladin without actually losing life. And then do we want to bring out the Sunscourge Champion? I do want to wait for I would really, really, really like to wait with Sunscourge Champion until I have the Anointed Procession, as that can be a really big game. So we'll play this Champion of Wits. And we find 2 more things to discard here. That's fine. I'm going to hang on to the lands. And draw the card. Keep the party going. And now we're looking really for Anointed Procession or for Regal Caracal, some haymakers like that. Happy that we have a solution to the Twilight Prophet before that gets obnoxious. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can go up to 9 mana. So that lets us play Cast Out and Adorned Pouncer. So I think that's a great plan. There is the Anointed Procession. Get excited for next turn. I'm going to start playing out some of these deserts, because if I don't, I might end up discarding them to a Champion of Wits. And we'll do this now. We don't want upkeep to come and have Twilight Prophet's ability trigger. And as far as attacking my opponent, I don't really see it right now. Putting a champ in the graveyard is interesting, but he could just take the damage and put more counters on the paladin. And the paladin actually getting to spar with this cat would be a bit of a pain, so we'll just say nah. We already have 2 champs in the graveyard. We don't necessarily need to scrap for more right this minute. Squire's Devotion, some lifelink and a little more air power, but our opponent does not even attack. And now it's time to go a little nuts, my friends. But before I do, should I attack? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess I could hit a Regal Caracal off of bringing back a Sacred Cat, and that would be the gravy here, as gaining a lifelink on this would be absolutely excellent. So we'll play this. We'll bring back this kitten, this cute little kitty, and there is another Anointer Priest. There's some life. Let's send in the double striker. And whoa, opponent, that's so much damage. Why would you do this? Okay. Let's see. I guess I can play this tap land. Or no, I've got another Sacred Cat. So I can play you. I can tap you for mana. I can bring you back. I can discard this Sacred Cat here. I'll draw a card from Vizier. We'll gain 8 life and make a bunch of 4/4s and gain 2 more life from the priest, and then we'll bring back this cat. We'll draw another card. Oh my. Paladin Atonement goes up, but our opponent is definitely at this point becoming more and more overmatched. And the Sanctum Seeker hits the table, and all the vampires get frisky. Everybody in the club getting tipsy, and then they concede. So, still don't know why our opponent just kind of let their first turn go. It's too bad. They never really got into that game. Embalm deck with the unanswered Vizier drawing just too many cards. Too much value. Alright, we don't have blue mana, but field could become blue mana. And if we were playing against mono red, we'd be pretty happy with the hand, as an early Sacred Cat and some Sunscourge Champions could probably help us get to turn 4, where something like Binding could help. So I think we have to keep this hand. Just like Capsule Corp or something from Dragon Ball Z. Alright, we drew a bit of a curve filler. And our opponent opens on Island, so already I'm thinking of blue-white, blue-black control, and I'm really hoping it's blue-black. I really, really am, because blue-white is much harder. Settle the Wreckage, Cast Out. These are cards that are very annoying, but alas, 'twas not to be. We are doomed to battle the blue-white deck. And this is the part where I'm a terrible human and I start chanting, please get mana screwed. Get him. Alright, let's play the Dunes, let's play the Champ. Our life total, probably completely irrelevant, as they'll either win with Approach of the Second Sun or by decking us. And here's Supreme Will. Oh boy. Oh boy. Doesn't even care enough to counter this. That's how many settles. That's how many settle the wreckages are in that hand. Alright, winning the game quickly is basically not an option, and that is the truth. So, playing around settle, it's just kind of a nightmare, so we just have to keep sending in these one-of creatures, one creature at a time. It's very bad, right? So that'll resolve, and that gives us an opportunity. We could try to Ixalan's Binding this, and then we always have creatures, but what about Teferi? I think we actually have to wait and see if there is a Teferi. I guess I could play around Censor, so I will. But yeah, we're settling in for a bit of a longer game, which of course doesn't favor us. Cards like Approach of the Second Sun pretty much windmill slam on our face, and not much we can do about that. But there is a Teferi, so now we're going to make them have the negate.
This isn't a fight you can win.
Of course, binding on a Teferi isn't particularly great. If they run enough cast outs and commits, it's not a big deal. Blink of an eye even. Alright, so I could attack first and try to get a play out of my opponent, or I could just go for it. But if I go for it, I know who to attack, so that's the wise thing. Again, we'll play around Censor just in case. Okay, resolves. So now we need to luck out and have them miss on cast out for a while. And we need your hand to be like 3 more Teferis. Lyra, well, that's a problem too. Ooh, that was a humdinger of a draw. Alrighty, hanging in there. I do think I hold this. I actually think I'm going to want to cycle it for more action, but I guess not. I might just want to activate Dunes. I don't know. It's close. We do, like we go up to 7 mana. We want to bring Champion of Wits back and things like that, so. Okay. I think I take a chance here and cast this now, because if I hit a commit, then I'm in a great spot and I can attack with all. But that, of course, isn't the most likely thing to occur. We gotta make sure that we get a chip shot in there somewhere, and our opponent plays Seal Away. They don't have a cast out, or we'd see it. But Settle the Wreckage makes sense, and so does another Seal Away. So here we go. The Wreckage is getting settled. Big land's coming, and now I wish I'd held on to that farmland, but that's the way it goes. We can cycle this now and see if we get, like, an Adorned Pouncer would be better to play than another Anointed Priest. Bingo. Always lucky. If our opponent has a Syncopate, I'm very sad about this. Oh my. Yeah, that's brutal. Right when we have all this land, too. It's a case for being more patient, but it's how... you just can't know. Yeah. They pretty much... That's the frustrating part about playing against blue-white, right? You always feel like they get you a bit. They just always get you a little bit, one way or another, no matter what you do. So our opponent puts the Approach back in their deck. They do have a non-basic land. We do have a Field of Ruin. So we're going to want to make absolute sure that we keep that Field of Ruin open to use if they try to find a way to draw into their Approach. Of course, they could just have another Approach. Not a lot we can do about that. Rivulet is also an answer, but I think we just need the Caracal right now while our opponent's tapped out. So we're going to take a... I mean, we're just going to take a chance that they can't re-approach us that quickly. Oh, if this is like a super slow roll approach, I'm going to be very disappointed in our opponent's behavior, but it's more likely a cast out. A Karn. A Karn. Interesting.
I will defend my allies.
Interesting.
A curious choice.
Yeah, you get an island. And our opponent doesn't have Settle Up. They do not have Settle Up. Interesting to tap all that white mana for that situation. At 4 mana down is an approach, so we have to be ready to respond to like a Supreme Will, which seems pretty likely with a Field of Ruin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if we do this right, sacrifice this. Combat attacks, all attack, damage. Oh, wow. He had nothing. Our opponent had nothing. Holy smokes. Sometimes you just go for it, my friends. Sometimes you just go for it. That Regal Caracal draw was really clutch. There were other draws that could have done it, but that was really clutch. Also, the cast out for the Lyra. That was well timed as well. Our opponent playing all the haymakers in that deck, by the way. Lyra, Teferi, and Approach of the Second Sun. All the win cons. But ran out of answers. All right, going for the 3-0. On the draw, can you keep a hand like this? I'm going to try. It's not great, but hopefully cast out cycles, draws me into a 2-drop, or Sunscourge Champion is good enough to stabilize if the opponent's very trying to be aggressive. But we see an Evolving Wilds, which a card I used to see in like every deck because of Magic Duels and Tireless Tracker, but now, not that often. I'm just going to cycle it now. I'm not going to overthink it. And found a blue source. And a Evolving Wilds for black. What could this pile be? Uh-oh, Esper Control. What fun. I do not enjoy piling this deck against Control. The only decks I enjoy piloting against Control, quite frankly, for the sake of discussion here on the channel, are Merfolk and Red. Those are the only... Oh, and Drakehaven. Merfolk, Red, and Blue-White Drakehaven are the 3 decks that I actually enjoy my game with Control. Okay, opponent Supreme Willing on the Champion. I find that absolutely fascinating, as now we can bring it back even stronger and uncounterable. But what's making me nervous right now is our opponent might just curve out into Teferi. We have an Angel of Sanctions. I don't feel like that's great. Champion of Wits. What does Champion of Wits do? What are you going to discard? Where is this plan going? Means I get to resolve my Vizier, which I guess is nice. And Vraska's Contempt hitting the bin. Shocking. We want to play the deserts out because we might end up discarding cards to this Champ of Wits, but I'm going to resolve my Vizier of the Anointed right now. Try to get a value engine. And is this another case where we get a Sacred Cat? It's not like that's a very good card to bring back. Vizier of Many Faces is interesting, as if our opponent gets a Lyra or something like that, it could be exactly what we want. And we have the mana for it. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to go this time, as if our opponent plays Lyra or Scarab God, a Vizier of Many Faces could be fun. Not Scarab God, because I don't have the mana to activate it. Although I might have enough zombies to get the Scry triggers, thanks to Embalm and Eternalize making zombies. We could also Vizier our own Vizier and draw multiple cards. And there's our Scarab God. Boo! We're gonna need to Angel of Sanctions you. That's the other way that this deck usually likes playing these blue-black kind of things. The times when it doesn't is when it plays Scarab God too quickly and the cast out isn't there. And we cycled that cast out, so no one to blame but me. Guess we have to attack sometime. If our opponent puts the Champ of Wits in the graveyard, it does make their Scarab God better, but they have our graveyard to attack. So they need to exile the Angel of Sanctions. The fact that they discarded Vraska's Contempt makes me think that they have another one. And yeah, which is nasty. Very nasty. Alright, I guess I have to play this champion, but even if I do, I'm not going to find something this turn to bring back. So if my opponent gets the Vizier, they can't get their own Scarab God. What can they copy? I guess they can copy this Vizier and draw a whole bunch of cards. Am I better off... Am I better off making a second Vizier and trying to win a value game here? Or am I better off making a Scarab God and then I might be able to get some counters? I'm never going to get the black mana to use the ability, unfortunately. I think what I'm supposed to do here is copy my own Vizier of the Anointed. And just try to win this value game. Let's play a blue mana so we don't get penalized. I'm going to decline. Well, no, we're going to take this action. We're going to get Cat. I totally forgot I got that ability, so slight misstep there, as I didn't have to be paying life for this. But just quite honestly forgot that I was also going to get another bonus. And now a weird game begins. One that frankly will be very difficult to win. I'm sure our opponent will take the opportunity to snag our Sunscourge Champion, gain some life, and have a big creature. But on our turn, we can play Anointed Procession. And if that resolves, the game becomes very interesting. Our opponent's going to think probably attack with this Champ, attack with Scarab God maybe. Okay. We'll block here. Not too worried about my cat. All right. We're going to want to take this out. But the thing is, this doesn't matter very much right now because our opponent has Scarab God activations, which are just better. Get these tapped. All right, so we need our opponent to use their mana. Although there isn't a window, if I play Champ and use the ability, there isn't a window for our opponent to target our Sunscourge before we can bring it out. And there's a Lyra. So our opponent running all the 5 mana mega monsters. And our opponent did use their mana, so we're going to get a chance to play Champ, discard Sunscourge, bring it out, and go a little nuts. Oh my goodness. We could attack, and if our opponent blocks the Priest, we can bring it back with double Procession, and then make this play next turn. And that's even better setup because we gain so much more life. But I don't think our opponent will block the Priest. They might just throw the Champ in front of it is actually what I'd do there, because then they can bring their Champ back with Scarab God. All right. I think we gotta take this opportunity while it's there. We did find a binding. I think we go for that instead. We can always Sunscourge next turn. And with Anointed Procession. So it's gotta be you. I can gain enough life to ignore the Lyra. over the long game. And hopefully our opponent, if they do have a way to get rid of this, it'll probably be a 4-mana play like Binding, Cast Out, or Commit. And that means they won't be able to activate Scarab God this turn as well. A seal away on the Anointer Priest. Okay. Plenty more where that came from. Lyra coming in hot, of course. So what do you think? Do we find out if our opponent has a counterspell for this Anointed Procession? I think that would be wise. I think we should check. Yeah, we're definitely discarding something else. So we'll play all these lands first to play around Syncopate. Wow, it resolved, you guys. It resolved. So you're telling me there's a chance. Let's discard this priest. And we're gonna draw 2 cards, and we're gonna make 4 4/4s and gain 16 life. Pile it up. Pile it up. No need to attack here. I'm not worried about Champ getting in the graveyard now, and I'm even more, you know, I don't want it to get sealed away, really. Oh yeah, turning it on now. So I don't think our opponent can keep attacking with Lyra. Our opponent's going to keep attacking with Lyra. So pretty clear sign for Settle the Wreckage. All right. So I think what I'm going to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 more. So I'm going to Field of Ruin this Arch. If our opponent doesn't use it, like, it's kind of a bait. If they do use it, then it's like, cool, you don't have Settle. And if they don't use it, then they don't get a card, and that's the glory of the situation. All right. Down it goes. So, how much do we send? We definitely only send some of these Eternalized creatures. I think sending about 3 of them will draw the Settle. Remember, 1 creature made all of these, so I'm not that worried about what happens to them. Okay. Perhaps my opponent feeling a little greedier? I don't know. Let's make a whole bunch of Anointer Priests and gain a whole bunch more life and draw some more cards. It is interesting, our opponent lacking like spot removal to take care of these Viziers. They basically sat here the whole game. Oh yeah. Enjoy the triggers, opponent. This is how you eat your opponent's timeouts, very brutally. And then they hit the end turn button. That's the smart way to handle it. Okay, so now we have 4 mana left. I'm trying to think if I don't think I need to cast out this Lyra. I really don't think I need to. I think I need to hold this for if my opponent finds a way out of this Ixalan's Binding. The Scarab God will win the game. Lyra, I don't think will. Not with the amount of life we can gain. When thinking about Approach of the Second Sun, I guess that concerns me a little, but I'm not going to overthink it. Let's do the Champ thing. Discard these. So we can gain a whole bunch more life, have a whole bunch more board. If our opponent's going to keep attacking with the Lyra, especially. If it stays on defense, I may have to cast it out, as there may not be good attacks. Okay, another Seal Away, another 1-for-1 removal spell is totally fine with me. The value train is completely rolling. Our opponent doesn't care. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I don't think he wants to attack with this. All right. Let's see if this resolves. Yep. Oh boy. Tap drawing. It's becoming a habit here. Gotta tap much more carefully. We do this pre-combat because if our opponent wants to do anything to mess with the procession or mess with anything, then they take down their settle mana, and then we can attack them all out. And yeah. Here we go again. How many triggers you want to sit through, opponent? It's the mind games. It's the mental warfare of making them watch all these triggers. We're just eating their timer. Yep, and now that they burned a timeout, they again are like, I guess I just better hit that button. But it's like getting the control mage who loves leaving their counter magic up to hit the end turn button. It probably just gives them tiny, tiny heart palpitations. Okay. Enough smack talk. Guess I'll offer these. If our opponent wants to settle those, there's plenty more where that came from. And then there's 8 more 4/4s next turn. Yep, there we go. He just didn't want those triggers anymore. It's that mental warfare. It's the mind games. All right. Guess we'll go with the planning instead of the champ. And yes, I want you. What a great surprise you can be. They never expect the commit. Of course, we haven't seen much from it so far this video, but I can definitely attack with everything I want to next turn and not care. Oh my, Lyra, why are you still attacking? I'm at 97. That's a good girl. Wait, no, guys, no blocks. All right, our opponent has 1 card, so I guess we can guess what it is. Do I do anything pre-main? Just to troll them a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 times 8. I mean, we have enough damage to be lethal, so we've got him with this commit. I'm just trying to decide if I should play more mind games. And yes, I absolutely should play more mind games. For those of you who hate control decks, this is for you. Everybody wants to know what we can do here anyway. $91. Light it on fire. Crash the game. Look at me, I'm so on fire right now. I love it. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and still 4. Let's pounce. How many double strikers may I have? I wonder why it asked me to resolve that. Interesting. Did the game crash? Did we break it? Opponent's timer is now running brutally. What is happening? Now it's making me hit the button? Now that the tables have turned! Now I have to do it. Oh no. It won't skip my attack step. It will stop for my attack step. I know this from experience. Look at it go. No, it did. It skipped me. It skipped my attack. Oh no. Max punished. Oh no. Well, let me learn from my mistakes. And you can learn from my mistakes. Oh my god. Why did it do that? It never did that before. It always stopped for combat in the past. It always stopped for combat. Okay. Well, here's what we'll do. See if our opponent has the counter. They don't appear to. Untap. Go to combat. Attacks. All attack. Oh no, not settle the wreckage. Anything but settle the wreckage. Take this, you control mage. You has been had by the Anointed Procession Embalm deck. Oh, what do I block? What do I do? We got a little salt here. It's a little warranted. I did just kind of go a little too nuts last turn. It's a little warranted. Yes, get him, get him, get him, get him. Do not stop until he is as dead as possible. Well, there you go. Quick, let's see what prizes await us for this amazing feat. We get 400 gold. Woo! And there's a pack there. Let's see what's in it. Well, I guess we get a Bolus's Clutches we didn't have before. Do I really have 5 of these? Oh well. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video and the absolutely craziness of blue-white Embalm tokens. Thank you, and I will catch you next time.